number of new players that are coming. Some of them are already here, but not as visible as they will be. They will be afterwards. And this whole thing will bring a new, different business models, which will some of them which will probably be successful, other will not. Challenges that we're talking about, yeah, there will be a lot of challenges, especially for the bank. Obviously, a lot of banks are a little bit concerned about losing the ownership of the customer, and this is also seen as an opportunity by the number of these third-party providers or FinTech. But I also see there are a lot of opportunities. Since you mentioned telco, I can maybe pull some parallels between the industry. The whole thing now reminds me very much of the situation some 13, 14 years ago in telco, when we were launching something we called at that time open interfaces. Open banking, we're talking a lot about interfaces and APIs, and this is very, very similar thing. The difference is that telco were not under legislative pressure at that time. They were simply launching the whole thing because they saw the business opportunity there. They saw the possibilities to grow their business. There was mainly SMS at that time. And Wipro at that time signed a deal with, I think, 5 or 6 different companies that connected to these open interfaces and were offering their services further. And now, 13 or 14 years later, one of these companies, I think you've heard about them, is Infobip. One of the largest.
Some people may know of Infobip in Croatia.
Some people may know one of the largest messaging companies globally. As far as I know, kudos to the guys who really did a great job. Some other companies that were also partners of Wipro at the time didn't succeed. Not as well as Infobip, not nearly as well as Wipro. So obviously it's not only about the ecosystem, it's not only about open APIs, it's also about business models, it's also about partnering, it's also about skills that these third parties also have on their own, marketing, sales, etc., etc.
Maybe to skip to the question of partnering with a bank, for example, in this very open world that's coming, what is Raiffeisen doing in order to partner with these kinds of innovators, even some of the startups that may be here?
Yeah, so there is, we're doing a lot of on the level of Raiffeisenbank International, which is our sort of mother company in Austria, and in 2017 they've started accelerator called Elevator Lab, and each year there's a process where they are selecting a number of startups that they will take into the accelerator. In the first year I think it was 5, and then the second year I think it was 7 or 8 startups that joined the whole thing, and the whole thing is very, very successful. I think the whole Elevator Lab was voted to be the best accelerator in Southeast Europe, if I'm not mistaken, last year. And the whole thing resulted this year, Raiffeisenbank International decided to start the venture capital fund called Elevator Ventures with the, I think, fund of 25 million euros to invest mostly, not so much in startup, but more in a scale up, so the startups that already have a proven business cases. But this is something which is, I think, very interesting. We didn't so far unfortunately, a lot of in Croatia to promote the whole thing, but I think we will be now changing this, so anybody who is interested in Elevator Lab or Elevator Lab Ventures, you're free to contact me, and we'll see what we can do for you.
Cool. So you mentioned business plans, you mentioned a lot of things that people might not associate with banks. One thing is also customer experience. How do you think that customer experience factors into the digital transformation of banks like yours today? And do banks also understand that it's a big deal?
Yeah, that is a biggie. Customer experience is a bit of a word which is very much misused lately. Everybody's talking about customer experience without knowing what it actually means.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It's probably one of the buzzwords that now it's something that is selling inside the corporation. A lot of different companies are talking about customer experience without properly understanding what it is. One of the aspects, but just one of the aspects of the customer experience is, for example, using the mobile app, and this is where I think PSD2 and open banking will play a big role, and this is why banks are a little bit afraid of of the whole thing, because we intuitively know that we're not that good in the customer experience. But that's the first step, understanding that you're not good at something and wanting to change it. I think that's a step forward. This will probably differentiate the successful from unsuccessful players in the new system, in the new ecosystem that I mentioned of open banking. I think the whole customer experience will make a difference, and the customers in the end will choose that front end or that company or that bank that provides the best customer experience overall. And I'm not talking about only the mobile app, the internet app, or I don't know, something. There are a number of touch points where a customer can experience the service. And this is where I think the next playground will take place.
What, in your opinion, is the biggest challenge to providing such a complete user customer experience, also in terms of internal culture? I mean, for a bank for years to be a classic bank, maybe to think of things that, okay, you have a mobile app, you have this and that, but what does it take from an internal standpoint to change things? Does it also include changing the culture of a bank? And how do you at all approach that? I mean, you're a digital guy in a bank. How do you see things?
Yeah, I mean, changing the culture is something that is necessary in this aspect. And it's not an easy thing. It's not something that you can do overnight. Banking, especially banking, is an industry which didn't show and didn't prove to be very fast in embracing changes. And this has to change. And that's first of the changes that bank needs to go through, any bank, not just ours. This requires a change of culture, and this is what we in Raiffeisen are trying to do. This is being done on a small scale at the beginning. There is a team who's taken a little bit out of the standard of everyday works and of the processes and everything which is banking usual. And we're trying to, there are several projects that we're running in these separate teams. We're dislocated, we're not in the offices of the bank, we're in some other separate offices, and doing a number of different things, exciting things, where we're trying also to use a number of buzzwords that I will be now using, like agile methodology, Scrum methodology, design thinking, and stuff like this. We are learning in the process, but I think we have some quite decent results so far, and more results to come, hopefully next year, to share with the audience. But this is just a start. Even the culture within this team is something that we have to learn. We have to learn how to work together, especially people from business and IT. These teams are consisted from IT and business, and we have to learn how to work together, how to communicate better, how to understand each other, and how to do the best possible thing for our customer. There is no internal customers anymore, because we used to work in a way that where IT was always, or some other departments in a bank had this internal customer. And then internal customers were usually serving the external customer. This is something where we're trying to erase, and we're saying, no, we all one, and we are serving the external customer. There is only one customer that we're serving. I think the big challenge will be when we try to scale things up to the next level. We have come to the level where we are, I think, working quite well in these smaller teams. There are challenges, of course, but I think this is normal. But once we start scaling up to the whole organization, I wonder how the whole thing will look like. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also a little bit scared.
Do you think that, when we're talking about being scary, do you think that some of these, well, some would say buzzwords, I would say just like tech methodologies, are scary to non-tech banking professionals? They hear either Scrum or something like that, and they're like, I'm not sure if we can do that.
They're scary when you talk about in these terms. When you talk about in these terms, like Scrum and methodology and Agile, then everybody's like puzzled. What the hell are you talking about? But when I learned about what the Scrum is or what the Agile or adaptive mindset in general is, I realized that it's quite natural. And everybody who's a non-techy business guy, this is a very natural way of doing things. This is how you would do things, I'm putting myself very often, I'm in position of product owner currently, and I'm putting myself very often in a situation where I'm saying I'm a rich guy who came to you guys and he said, I want this product for myself. And you have to deliver. And then we talk about what do I need, what do I think a lot of people who are working in smaller companies and when they had a customer in front of them with the money, really willing to pay, but not able to articulate what exactly he wants or she, they were in a situation to pull the information out of this guy. Okay, what exactly do you want? And this was not possible by asking, what database do you need and what field, what type of the fields this will be, and et cetera, et cetera. They needed to ask this question in some other way. And this is why I think this is a very, very natural way of working, especially in smaller teams where people are moving and changing according to the situation, helping each other, and trying to understand each other, and on top of everything, trying to understand the customer and what are his or her needs.
So this is a new way of working in the financial industry and banks. Talking about talent, so future talent, maybe students who are interested in working in banks that are going through digital transformation, creating new tech products, what do you think that an opportunity for them would be? Because they could see still, maybe even in the later stages of studying, banks, those are, as you said, organizations that are not innovative, that do not do like digital products. But what would you tell them that there is their opportunity?
I think first of all, there is a great opportunity to learn new things and to grow together with us. I'm not a technical person, so I cannot talk about so much about platforms and APIs and stuff like this. But I've been told that when I say the word OpenShift, then techies start drooling like this is a big thing, and it seems like we're working with this OpenShift. So anybody interested in this from the developer community is welcome to ask and to see if there is space, and I think there is space for such people. But I would also think that there is a lot of opportunities for the business side as well. We are also applying a number of these, as I mentioned, new methodologies and working with a new concept, new business models. This very much reminds me again on a telco 15 years ago where we were doing crazy things just for the sake of doing it. This is not that crazy because there needs to be a business rationale in the end, and there is a bottom line that we have to somehow keep positive. But it is exciting, and there's a lot of new things happening in finance industry. There is a lot of things that anybody can learn and enjoy doing it. That's the biggest. That's I think very, very important to mention. It's a great team that we have there. We work a lot. That's true, but we also take some time to have fun, to talk, to laugh. It's quite pleasurable environment to work in, full of energy and full of drive. And I think it's a great place to work.
Some time ago, I held a lecture at the Faculty of Economics, and I remember on my question of would you want to work at a bank, 50% of the audience actually said yes. No, they said yes,
yeah, really?
because they're studying economics. So
economics,
come on,
okay.
they're very natural targets for banking talent. But then when I mentioned like FinTech and disrupting the bank sector, a lot of them were kind of worried about their future.
About banks or about working for fintechs?
About working for banks, because they weren't sure what they could offer banks if the future was digital. Which might be interesting to them when they see you, for example, as a business person working in a bank. On digital products, right?
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. Absolutely, I think there's a lot of opportunity for business people also in terms of the digital things. The classical knowledge which is gained in faculties is not something that will help a lot, I have to say. Self-learning is something which is, I think, most important thing. If you're interested in technology, if you're interested in fintechs in general, the internet there is plenty of information there. You just start, by browsing, by installing apps, by trying different things, by realizing what you as a customer would like to see, to use, and see if this could be then applied somewhere. That's one side of the medal. Another side is obviously banks will not be able to do everything on their own. That's for sure. We don't have the knowledge, we don't have the resources, and we don't have the time to do everything at once. So we will be more and more, we are already, and will be more in the future open towards different partnerships with fintechs that you just mentioned and different partners, where we will try to, to find the business model that suits both sides and to see how we can leverage the strengths of both sides, the knowledge and the agility of the small fintech or the smaller startup, and the market strength, the customer base of the bigger banks such as us. And I think there is a lot of opportunities there.
So let's do a deep dive here. So you mentioned like partnering with a fintech. If there's someone here that has a project or even maybe an idea of how that would work, that would benefit both them and for example, a bank like Raiffeisen, how does the process of partnering with you or with another bank look like? What are the steps? So they'll come to you later after this fireside chat, say, hey, Miljenko, I have this great idea. What happens next?
That's the first step. I mean, early this morning I had a talk with one guy who we got connected over as the shared friend. We had a talk over the coffee. He briefly explained what are they doing, what is this, what are the things that they are covering. It sounded interesting, and we somehow do a short brainstorming session on what we could do together, right? And we will continue to do so. It's not something which is visible at the first often. Sometimes you need to do a little bit of brainstorming and see how do we fit together? Do we fit together at all? So the first step is always let's talk and let's see what the idea is. How does it fit? How would it benefit to the bank? How it would benefit to the fintech itself? The next step is then different. It depends on the talks. Is it a more technical thing? Is it the more business stuff? But obviously, then we talk about a business model. Is it a revenue share? Is it something that we pay? What kind of installation do we need? What kind of
would you expect a fintech to have a clear idea of a business model to work with you, or is it okay for them to come with an interesting solution and then not really know about, okay, where do you want to go, and they want to brainstorm the model with you?
I think having the clear idea on the possible business model is a plus. It's not necessary. We can talk about just the idea and then figure out what the business model would be together. But if they have some sort of business model, this would be a plus. It could also be a minus. In some cases we might not see ourselves a part of that business model. But then I would expect this fintechs also to be open towards different kind of business models, to listen to us, to see what are our problems, what are our pains, what we need to address, and then to see if we can somehow find the win-win situation for both parties.
And to end, what do you think that the largest or biggest challenges will be for you when it comes to open banking, and when PSD rolls around in March? What do you see as your potential headaches in 2009 or opportunities?
2019, PSD2 actually is rolling out in September. Properly, this RTS thing is, I think, September is the date when it's starting. So I don't see a lot of big things happening next year. I think this will be a year of, complying to regulation by the banks, but also by the fintechs. I think there are a lot of things that are not totally clear. Still, there will be a number of trial and errors there. So this will be a year of sort of consolidation, let's say. Putting the grounds for future development, and then after 2020, I think things will start rolling out. So for the banks, the biggest challenge will be complying to this regulation, which is not easy. This is something that we are currently very much focusing on. We are also working closely with the Raiffeisenbank International, and will be rolling out the common platform, let's say, which will be the something that we'll be using to address all these issues. Hopefully this platform will in the future grow to support more than just what we have to provide by the law. I also hope that there will be more clearer situation in the market in terms what really third-party providers are, what is their role, what they have to do, what they're bound to do, what are the limits for them. There will be challenges for them as well. It's not going to be walk in the park. I think this is where a lot of partnership opportunities will rise, and I think this next year will be actually a lot about setting the grounds, setting the first partnership, deciding on the business model for the future, and maybe even already changing some of the existing business models.
So if someone wants to partner with a bank, 2009 is a good year to start. 19, sorry. Oh, yes. I'm far in the past.
I mean, it's already now 2018. It's a good year to start talking. I think 2019 will be even better. I think somewhere in spring we are starting with a new elevator lab process. So we can start already now talking about this and helping startups applying for this elevator lab and getting the piece of it, but also any other already established FinTech. We can talk. I already talked with some of the guys over here about potential partnerships. We will continue to talk and see where it leads. Hopefully we'll find some common ground and partnership where we all can find our spot under the sun, let's put it that way.
Great, sounds good. Unfortunately, we're a little short of time, so if you have any questions for Miljenko, he'll be at the back at the Raiffeisen booth, sitting there for hours and hours waiting for you, right? So grab him here. Miljenko, thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you.